Hey peeps, it's Danny here with another investing video. So this one is on my biggest single day trade of $15,000. Um, you know, it's interesting. It's looking back on it. I just thought I'd make a video because I was telling somebody about it, and hey, I never even made a video on that. So do that now. So basically, it was the day before earnings for Zim on a Friday. Zim's a shipping company. So this is in 2024 in August. You can see on the chart, we had a massive spike in the index. Those numbers in the index are just truly massive, and it's like everyone, sort of knew it was going to be huge. But and you look at the price action. I put in red the actual day of the trade. The price had actually been significantly higher. I think like people knew it was going to be huge, and then all these companies started shorting, or individuals or organizations started shorting Zim just because they could. I guess, with a small stock, and you got big organizations who are shorting it for, you know, I don't know. I mean, if you short 10 million shares on it, it's going to fall. Now, whether or not that helps you at all, because you do have to buy those back. But we had huge shorting, so it was valued well above that point in the earnings. But day before earnings, that thing had been shorted to wazoo. Um, Mainly, there had been concern due to the cost of the charters. But Zim was in the process of switching all of its expensive charters for very long term, very cheap, um, you know, contracts. So the cost structure of Zim was completely changing. Um, Zim was no longer one of the little fish; it was one of the big fish, and that was going to be happening through 2024 and 2025. In the meantime, they had kind of been during the before the Red Sea closing, they had been kind of in quite a cash pinch. So people were kind of that's why there was a lot of negative sentiment. But with how high the freight index went, there should have been some great optimism for massive returns. But it's like people just forgot about it. And so day before, I'm looking at it and reading what people think their estimates are, and myself thinking those is going to be huge, and it's 17 like 50. So I invested something like 60,000. I mean, you can see the chart. I don't not study it too much, but it was 15,000 in one day, and I didn't even fully squarely get the whole move. It's not even the biggest move that I could have captured, but I mean that's the move that I did capture. There are a couple times where I captured about 1,000 off of a move in Zim during that period. But this is the big one. But so basically, the earnings came out. The dividend was truly huge. It was about 20% dividend in one dividend, and then the forecast for the next quarter was also pretty huge. I mean, if you held between those two quarters based on the 1750 price, it's like 40% dividend between those two quarters. Um, Zim ran for the full year, ran over 50% dividend. It was truly, truly massive. And so, when I bought, it Monday it spiked. I sold. Got that 15,000 return. So, I currently own, in this account. I mean, I have much bigger positions in other accounts, but in this account that I'm doing the charts from, and that's the one where I did the trade in. I didn't do the trade in the other accounts. But in this one, um, I did do some trades in the other accounts, but they were more call related and not so lucrative. It was because I was in a more tight position. It was actually in a margin account. I was in a more tight position, so I took kind of a sure profit with a call rather than a big chance like this one. But that capturing that huge gain along with all those dividends, for the year that the 20,000 is stock I own in this account. I own much more. Much. This is actually I own many thousand. I own almost 10,000 shares in another account. But in this account, the $20,000 worth of shares I own, between the 15,000 and plus all the dividends, it's more than paid off. It's actually like 140% or something. I don't know exactly. I have to go back and look at it, but it's significantly more than paid off. It's actually the shares are free plus they've paid out to buy other shares. So it was a pretty amazing, day for me, and it was, pretty wild watching the earnings when you just bought 60,000, and you watch the earnings, and then they, come in with that big, I think it was like $6 something, it's like 680 or something, and then the forecast, oh no, 665, or no, sorry, 365, but 365, that's off of a 1750 share price is insane. And then the projection for the next quarter was big, and it turned out big too. So, I mean, that was a single day trade. And looking back on it in retrospect, it doesn't even seem like um, it's debatable. Like, obviously this was going to happen, but I don't know. I mean, you start to. I think it was one of those things where like all the facts were pretty obvious. It's just that there was just like this overwhelming anti-sentiment against the stock from short sellers that was completely irrational. And remember that short sellers do have to pay out the dividends. So if you were shorting that and then you held it through the dividend, you do have to pay the 365 dividend because you've essentially created an extra share. So yeah, it was a pretty memorable day, and it just it reminds me of some investing advice. I heard is that for investing, everything is easy in a bull market. Everyone looks good in a bull market, and I guess that a lot of people kind of use that to say, well, you don't really know who the good investors are until you get into a bear market. But there was the other investor guy I like, and I forget who it was who said it, but he's like, there's always a bull market somewhere, so you just got to go find where the bull market is. If you find where the bull market is and you invest in the bull market, you'll do very well because everyone looks good in a bull market. You just have to find what the bull market is, and in this case, it's like you found the bull market is shipping. You invest in shipping, you're gonna look brilliant. But if you don't invest in the bull market, you just got to find the bull market. And so, yeah, in this case, that trade, it's very memorable. And in some ways, it is also kind of silly because it's just like it was such an obvious bull market in some ways. But on the other hand, I guess so many people were doubting it against the facts. But that was the trade, and yeah, I mean that was quite a year. That year, 2024, in my taxable accounts, I had 48,000 in taxable dividends and capital gains. On track for much more this year. And obviously, those 2 years are kind of exceptionally good. I'm not projecting in the future I'm going to get nearly that much, but um, those things, when you have those big years and you take those wins and you compound them into other stocks, and it really starts to build the basis for very large future returns. So very big day, and just thought I'd make a video on that. It was a pretty memorable one. All right, have a great one, peeps.